Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. The Buckinghamshire funeral director who says London's new pollution-fighting ultra-low emission zone will cost him over £1,000 a month. Anger on the day ULEZ goes live.
We're a small business, so we couldn't get finance because we've not been open 5 years, so nobody would help us with 5 vehicles at 160 grand each.
The family of 11-year-old Kyra, who died at a children's party at a water park at Datchet near Windsor, gets some answers about their little girl's death.
Also this Tuesday, paramedics in training, the apprenticeships to attract more people into the profession at a time many are choosing to leave.
And could you give a home to one of these furry friends? The charity looking for volunteers as the number of cats it's looking after doubles. Good evening. A funeral director from Buckinghamshire says the expansion of London's ultra-low emission zone is going to cost his business up to £300 a week. Hundreds of thousands of pounds would be needed to replace his vehicles, which he says he can't afford.
Well, from today, the new expanded ULEZ zone, seen here in green, includes most of the area within the M25, including Heathrow. Non-compliant and mostly older vehicles that cross into it have to pay £12.50 a day.
One GP has told us the charge is vital to ensure clean air, as Natalie Verney now reports.
Christopher might not live in London, but his work requires him to travel there multiple times a week. The new ultra-low emission zone is going to eat into profits.
We visit like the outer areas of the new zone maybe 4 or 5 times a week, and then where we've got a hearse and 3 limousines going in, or a hearse and 2 limousines, each vehicle is going to be affected by that charge. So each funeral is going to add £50–60 onto the price of the job, really, isn't it?
The zone is being expanded to clean up London's air and improve the health of its residents. It's estimated around 4,000 Londoners die prematurely each year because of long-term exposure to air pollution.
What price do you put on the next generation's health? I don't think we can put a price on that. If we think about how much advice we give to people to not smoke because we don't want poison particles in the lungs, and then we're letting our kids breathe in poisoned air, I think that's a problem.
The new rules mean that anyone who has a petrol vehicle older than 2005 or a diesel before 2015 will now have to pay or be forced to change cars. But that's not feasible for everyone.
For a newer, say a newer Jaguar, newer shape to ours, if we were to buy one brand new, we're looking at £160,000 each, and you may be a year's wait to get the car. So we'd still have to stomach all them charges for at least a year until the new car turns up. And like, we're a small business, so we couldn't get finance because we've not been open 5 years, so nobody would help us with 5 vehicles at 160 grand each, you know.
Harry also has to drive into London for work. He has a passion for classic cars. Some are exempt because they're more than 40 years old, but others are not. He could be eligible for a £2,000 scrappage scheme if he swapped his car for a compliant one, but he's not interested.
There is absolutely no way I'll replace any of my vehicles because of ULEZ. Scrappage schemes, in my opinion, are worse for the environment than keeping an old car running, because you've got to offset the production of the new car. And I think if you've got a car like mine with 200,000 miles on the clock, older than me, it's offset itself.
Passengers to Heathrow Airport will also be affected. On top of the £5 drop-off fee or parking charges, those in older cars will be charged an extra £12.50 just to reach the airport. Failure to pay within 3 days can lead to a £180 fine. Christopher says for now they'll try to absorb the cost in the business, but it's likely they'll be forced to pass that cost on to customers in the future. Natalie Verney, ITV News.
Political correspondent Tom Sheldrick is at Westminster. Tom, ULEZ is splitting public and political opinion.
That's right. It is the Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who is responsible for expanding the ultra-low emission zone. The Conservatives have strongly criticised him for that, and it's widely seen as the main reason why they won a by-election in West London last month. Now, earlier today, there was a protest featuring people who are against the extension of the zone, which was rather curiously held outside Downing Street, despite the Prime Minister coming out firmly against this move.
People and families are struggling with the cost of living. That's obvious to everyone. And at that time, the Labour Party, the Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer are introducing the ULEZ charge, which is going to hit working families. I don't think that's the right priority. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I wish they had not done it.
We now have the world's biggest clean air zone. It's remarkable because after today, 5 million Londoners will be breathing clean air. And this policy will lead to lives being longer than they otherwise would be, lives being saved and children's lungs being protected.
Tom, everyone's watching what's happening in London. Are we likely to see schemes similar to ULEZ in our busiest towns and cities here in the Thames Valley?
Well, plans for a clean air zone or workplace parking scheme in Reading were scrapped in 2021 after a report suggested there would be limited environmental and financial benefit, while Oxford has the country's first zero emission zone. A pilot introduced 18 months ago means that any vehicle that isn't fully electric incurs a charge for using a small part of the city centre during the daytime. There are plans to widen that scheme, but the backlash that's been seen in and around London could lead to a rethink.
Tom at Westminster, thank you.
The family of an 11-year-old girl who died at a water park near Windsor have been told at an inquest that the cause of her death was drowning.
Kyra Hill was at a birthday party at Liquid Leisure in Datchet in August last year, where she got into trouble in a swimming area. From Reading, here's Juliet Fletcher.
It was a short hearing today at Reading Coroner's Court to formally open the inquest into the death of Kyra Hill. Now, Kyra was 11 years old at the time when she went missing at Liquid Leisure Water Park near Datchet in Berkshire on the 6th of August last year. She'd been at a friend's party when she disappeared. The police and the emergency services were called to the lake and she was found over an hour later, taken to Wexham Park Hospital, but there she was pronounced dead. Now, today the court was told that a post-mortem carried out gave the cause of death as drowning. Now, the water park is still partially closed apart from some boating activities. At the time, Liquid Leisure said they were heartbroken by what had happened and said a fully trained lifeguard is always on duty in the swimming areas. And the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead Council are carrying out a full health and safety investigation. Now, today the coroner explained to Kyra's family that because other investigations were underway, a date for the full inquest has yet to be set.
Juliet Fletcher there. Next, a holidaymaker from Didcot stranded in Milan because of significant disruption to flights says he's had to spend more than £500 on a plane ticket back to the UK. Adam Goodwin is one of thousands of people stuck abroad or left waiting at Heathrow and Gatwick because of a technical failure at the National Air Traffic Control Service. More than 70 flights to and from Heathrow were affected today, with passengers urged to check with their airline before travelling. Adam says the situation has been chaotic.
Managed to get a hotel, which we did ourselves, and then from there we've had to arrange our own way back to the UK. We are flying this evening at 6 o'clock to Paris, and then we're taking the Eurotunnel on Wednesday evening. Sort of lucky, really. It's costing us around about £500 each to be able to get home. Last night people were talking about £1,000 plus just for a flight, and that would go to somewhere else around the world. Some people are even talking about connecting in Dubai to get back to London.
Aerial footage shows the extent of rubbish left behind at the Reading Festival site. Thousands of discarded tents as well as piles of litter have been left by around 100,000 festival goers as they left Richfield Avenue yesterday. Today, a mass clean-up continues. In previous years, more than 2,000 tents and sleeping bags have been recovered from the festival and donated to charities.
No one has been arrested following a stabbing in Oxford city centre in the early hours of Sunday morning. Police were flagged down in Pembroke Street at the junction with St Aldate's at around 4 a.m. after a man was stabbed in his upper arm and back. He's now recovering at home. A knife has been recovered.
Ambulance service bosses in the Thames Valley hope a new paramedic apprenticeship will attract a more diverse range of people into the profession.
Well, they'll have on-the-job training, receiving the same degree as those who go to university. Kit Bradshaw reports.
Responding to 999 calls is something Grace Johnson has got used to. She's been working for the ambulance service for 6 years. But only recently has she been able to call herself a paramedic, one of the first in the country to qualify through a new apprenticeship programme.
I was nervous, but it was a great opportunity really. I own a house, I have a life now, and I want to be able to work and be able to do a degree at the same time. Knowing that I didn't have to worry about bills, my mortgage and the large amount of debt that I would be left with if I was to go externally as such.
CCAM had just 12 graduates on the initial cohort, with South Central Ambulance Service welcoming 30 new paramedics. But numbers on this apprenticeship programme are increasing, with hundreds now across the south training towards a degree in paramedic science. The majority of those on the first intake were previously working as less senior ambulance technicians or practitioners, with a graduation ceremony held in Carlisle last month for new paramedics from across England.
With the apprenticeship route, that really does open up opportunity for all.
We hear so much about issues of staff retention across the NHS. Are schemes like this helpful, do you think, in keeping current staff in the ambulance service?
Yeah, I absolutely do believe this is really positive for retention. It also means that any person working for our organisation have an opportunity to reach their goals at their own pace with the support of us as an organisation, which is fantastic.
After a year of on-off industrial action and new figures showing increasing numbers of staff quitting the service in our region, training new paramedics and keeping them is a top priority. Did you ever consider leaving the ambulance service?
There was times where emotionally draining, especially during COVID, but it allowed me to realise that actually that is what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed looking after people at the toughest times and being able to support them through that.
It's hoped that in years to come, a quarter of new paramedics qualifying each year will be apprentices, opening up this life-saving career to more people than ever before. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News.
You're watching ITV News Meridian here in the Thames Valley, and remember, for more on all of our stories, please head to our website itv.com/Meridian. You can call us and you can follow us on social media.
The Southampton branch of Cats Protection says the situation there is desperate.
Yes, it has more than 100 cats and kittens on its waiting list to come into care. That's double the number compared to August last year.
Well, the charity says it urgently needs people to come forward to adopt, foster or join its team of volunteers. With more, is Kerry Swain.
We have these two little kittens that were found by the side of the road in Romsey on Friday. They're very tiny. In this one we have two that are really scared. They've come from a multi-cat household where most of them lived in the garden.
25 cats living in one house, 12 in a flat. Current cases being handled by Cats Protection. The Southampton branch has already rehomed 440 felines this year. The charity is overwhelmed by need. Jazz is one of 93 cats being looked after by Cats Protection, but another 105 are on the waiting list, urgently needing foster care before they can be rehomed. That's double the number a year ago.
Every year I say it's the worst it's been, but this really is the worst it's ever been. I've never seen so many kittens. We've got people that can't afford to look after their cats anymore. We've got people that have gone home because of Brexit. We've got people that couldn't get their cats neutered because they've not been neutering throughout COVID, a lot of the vets. And then lots of people bought pets during COVID, so the vets are absolutely overloaded, and most of Southampton vets are not taking on any new clients.
Strays turn up everywhere. We've had them at the Tudor Museum in Southampton, Leonardo Hotel, any of the hotels, the swimming pool in Eastleigh. They go in office blocks, underneath the sports centre in Southampton. They had some in a storage area. She felt down and felt something soft, and she found 3 newborn kittens.
This is Sapphire. She was found as a stray cat with her kittens, so they've all come into care. Unfortunately, the kittens weren't handled from birth, so they turned out to be feral. So they've gone to live on a farm, but she's actually not feral, so we're looking for a home for her.
Landlords refusing pets in rented accommodation is contributing to cat homelessness, according to Cats Protection. The charity is appealing for help.
It's really bad, and it's really upsetting when you look at the waiting list. You see how many, and you know what dire conditions they're in, or they're not getting fed. And it's really upsetting for the volunteers.
Cats Protection is working to reduce the number of unwanted cats through education and neutering. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
Now, more than half of women from Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds say they do not feel represented in the current conversation around menopause. It's despite extensive research showing that some common menopause symptoms, such as hot flushes, are experienced more severely by certain ethnic groups.
Well, it's a topic that's often not spoken about enough, leaving many women struggling to get the right support. Here's Amrit Birdie with more.
This group of friends meet regularly for catch-ups over coffee, and there's one topic in particular that keeps them talking for hours.
Hot flushes, forgetting things, being in a bad mood, the exhaustion.
Definitely some hair loss, hot flashes, that misnomer that the menopause is all about the end of a period. That I think is a myth we need to bust.
Being able to speak to people who are going through very similar things is really helps boost each other on, if you're having a bit of a bad day.
And it's conversations about menopause, especially within South Asian communities, that campaigner Meera Bogle is fighting to see more of.
When we go to see the doctor, I feel really strongly that they need to understand the importance of ethnicity on the symptoms that we're facing and we're experiencing, but also the long-term symptoms. So that risk of, South Asian women experiencing perimenopause much earlier, so in their late 30s potentially.
Just over 50% of women from Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds do not feel represented in the current menopause conversation. That's 67% of Caribbean women, 58% of Pakistani women and 53% of African women who think the spotlight only focuses on the experiences of white women. Menopause specialist Dr. Sam Davies from Amesbury in Wiltshire says the symptoms of menopause can be significantly different for women of colour.
We know that women of South Asian origin tend to go through an earlier menopause at around the average age of 47. And if we look at Caucasian women, the average age is about 51. Symptom-wise, there's again differences. So if we think about women from Afro-Caribbean origin, they tend to have more frequent and severe vasomotor symptoms, so hot flushes and night sweats. And we know that that collection of symptoms tends to be less frequent in women of Southeast Asian origin.
Hello, this is Black Menopause and Beyond. I'm Anita Powell, I'm the host of this podcast.
There are already women working hard to spread the message. Women like Anita Powell, who co-founded a group to support Black women going through menopause, as well as hosting a podcast. Her guest this week is Belinda Ajayi, who says she struggled to access the right information and treatment for her menopause symptoms, in comparison to her white friends.
Most of my Caucasian friends were being given patches or HRT kind of support. And I suddenly thought to myself, oh, is it just me? Is there something wrong with me? Why haven't I had that conversation?
As a community worker, I look at menopause mainly through those eyes. I can clearly see that there's a relationship with lower socio-economic groups, ethnic minorities, not receiving adequate service and not fully understanding health-wise what they're going through.
For women like Anita and Meera, it's clear that when it comes to addressing the gap in menopause support, one size does not fit all. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
The ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Gamal Fambula.
Chaos continues at UK airports as thousands of passengers remain stranded. Despite air traffic control faults being fixed, delays and cancellations are expected to last for days. Also, we'll bring you a special report from the Mediterranean, where doctors scramble to save migrants attempting the perilous crossing. And Lioness Ella Toone speaks to ITV about the Spanish kiss controversy and how it's overshadowed the World Cup. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, it's the time of year when many young people have just got their exam results and are trying to decide what to do next. Maybe that's going on to further education, an apprenticeship, or just heading straight into work.
A survey of business leaders here in our region suggests a large majority of CEOs consider having good digital skills as important as having a university degree when it comes to choosing an employee. Here's Kevin Ashford.
Exam results can be a time for celebration.
Yes, high five!
But also a time for decisions about what path to take next. Sometimes that path ends up being a bit of a zigzag. Callum Emptage couldn't find a job using his degree in classical civilization and philosophy, so changed direction, enrolled in a free scheme called Fast Futures to enhance his digital skills, and he's now working as a data analyst.
I've always been quite techie in terms of basic skills, nothing specifically for data. And I would say I found it quite easy to adapt into it, just because I do love learning and I'm always looking to learn more and more.
And according to a new survey of business leaders, those sorts of skills could be a key factor for youngsters looking for a job. In the South, 80% of CEOs questioned said they considered having business-related digital skills, often as good as a degree on a CV. 66% said basic computer literacy was the single most important skill looked for in potential employees, although 70% said young people often struggled with simple computer-based workplace tasks. Those behind the survey say digital skills are vital in every sector.
I think the key message to young people is whatever other qualifications you are doing or whatever career path you want to work towards, however you're going to get there, pay attention to your digital skills and how you can develop those and demonstrate those to employers as well. It is something that we're all looking for these days.
Danielle Holmes runs an IT company. She says young people may be adept in digital areas like social media, but they need to be proficient in other areas too.
Be able to use Word, Excel, so that you can put timesheets together, so that you can use a search engine the way it's meant to be used. And again, that's for a job, that's for a degree, that's for GCSEs, A-levels, anything like that. You need basic skills, to be able to use just basic applications. You don't need to be able to code,
Digital skills are set to become even more important for potential job seekers as more of our life and work moves online. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now, on the 50th anniversary of the Whitbread Round the World race, sailors are gearing up for a retro race in the style of that original competition.
Yes, it means no computers, satellites or GPS allowed, as the teams, which are mainly amateur sailors, go on an 8-month adventure called the Ocean Globe Race. Andrew Pate has more.
These sailors will be stepping back in time, recreating the original Whitbread Round the World race on its 50th anniversary. In 1973, the team set off from Portsmouth. This year, the crews will leave Southampton, knowing they can only use the technology available in that original race, and the spirit of adventure is strong.
I really want more sailing in India, so this will help and boost I think the confidence of more and more kids and girls all over the world, that if I can be here, that anyone can do it.
This race gives ordinary sailors the chance to live out their dreams and go around the world in a way that you'd never normally be able to do.
23 countries are represented on the 14 yachts. The 8-month voyage following on from the Whitbread and then the Volvo races.
May you all have a fair wind and may God go with you always. The very best of good luck and wishes from us all. Congratulations on this fabulous attempt.
With no computers or satellites allowed, organisers say it will be team spirit and raw determination that gets them through.
It's really about being a human event. You know, you have to steer the boats by hand. It sounds strange, but all the high-tech races now, they don't steer by hand anymore. They can't. They're too fast. So they use autopilots. So we're just bringing it back to the way it used to be in the golden era of real adventure and human stories, and it's very colourful.
The ban on modern technology even extends to the music systems allowed on board the boats. So if the sailors do want to listen to music, they can't use anything more up-to-date than the cassette tape. Today saw the opening of the Race Village at Southampton's Ocean Village. The big adventure itself begins on September the 10th. Andrew Pate, ITV News.
Do we know if Patey got off the boat safely? Because he could be back in 8 months' time if he's not careful.
Well, he might do, but have you got any old cassettes? That's what I was thinking about. All you need...
Yeah,
See?
I have. I've still got a few.
Yeah, all you need is if they go wrong, it's like the old pencil trick.
Yeah,
See, showing our age.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Right, let's get a check on the weather forecast with the details. Here's Pip.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Vaillant Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there. Well, today has been relatively quiet weather-wise for the most part, but things are looking pretty changeable as we head through the next few days. We've got some rain overnight tonight. We're going to have more rain on Thursday. It could be persistent and heavy at times, but fingers crossed, something drier making a return by the time we get to the weekend. Out there at the moment though, thickening cloud working its way eastwards, outbreaks of rain pushing eastwards too, but I think by around midnight most of that should have cleared. Behind it, drier, clearer skies, and underneath those clear skies, some rural spots perhaps dipping as low as 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. So quite a fresh start for some of us tomorrow morning, but a much brighter start than we had today. Some lovely sunshine from the word go. A bit of cloud and a few showers bubbling up into the afternoon, but not amounting to too much, and in the best of the sunshine between the showers, feeling pleasantly warm, highs of 20, perhaps 21 degrees. But it's overnight into Thursday where we start to see persistent and at times heavy rain piling in from the west. So Thursday itself set to be a pretty cloudy and wet day for the most part. Sunshine and showers for Friday, hopefully drier again by the weekend.
Vaillant Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV Meridian Weather.
And that is it from us for the time being. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Gamal Fambulla, and I'll be back with your late update just after 10:30.
Now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.